Hi everybody, and welcome to this tutorial where I'm going to show you tips and tricks for copying your reference picture onto your pastel matte paper or maybe simple pastel paper. You just put in a layer of pastel from your pastel bars on the back of your model, and then you go over it with a sharp pencil or pen. In the meantime, check if you are pressing hard enough, and as you can see I did. And then you simply finish the whole drawing by copying the main important lines. So this is the back of the eagle, and you can see that there's a lovely image now. So you have some handholds. Even if you are a starter or beginner artist, this is a very handy tip. And these are my pan pastels that I'm going to use for the underlayer of this drawing. So nice set of colors, and of course I do not have all the colors that I need, but for the underlayment that's just perfect. When you see this eagle, you can see that the background is really dark, especially on the left side, and on the right side it's a little bit lighter. So if I was to start this drawing of an eagle, I would just start with the background, and I'm using the panpastel knife, and I simply start to blend in a little bit of black and a little bit of darkish brown, grayish brown, and just trying not to copy exactly the background, but just try out a little bit what works for you. Maybe add a little blue, maybe add a little light, and then just keep blending the pigments of the panpastel until you find a background that you are happy with. And once you are happy with that background, you can actually start with the panpastel to put in an underlayer of feathers. Now the panpastel and the panpastel knife are actually ideal for creating the feel of feathers. So what I do is I simply tip the paper, and the pastel matte is a really rough paper. Now should you want to see the complete progress, the complete process, you can find me on Patreon, so you can watch me do this complete drawing in real time. Now as I was saying, I just tip the knife with the pigments, and I tip them in the direction that the feathers are growing. Now here you can see that little feather here just on top of the shoulder, and as you can see there is a really nice structure going on just by tapping very softly with the panpastel knife and a little bit of pigments. Now for the feathers below, I'm putting in an underlayer of black and white. And the feathers on the head are quite long, while the feathers on the shoulder, on the wing of this eagle, they are much shorter. So for those shorter feathers, I also use a shorter movement of the panpastel knife. As I head to the right, where I'm going towards the back of the bird, the colors start to fade away, and it's getting all darkish brown. So that's exactly what I did with the pigments of the panpastel. Then I add a little bit of dark ochre over my underlayer of black and white. And in that way the tip of the wing starts to pop out a little bit more. Now, of course, the head of an eagle is all white, but in this case, the light is coming from the left. So the right side of the white head is actually a bit purple-ish, blue-ish. And by placing the blue against the white, that is when you actually get that realistic feel of the light bending around the head. So on the left side it's all white and a little bit of ochre-ish in the feathers, but on the right side there is a lot of blue and dark shadow. Now the darkest shadows will be done with the pastel pencils. Now for pastel pencils I have a lot more kind of colors. So when I'm happy with the underlayer done with the panpastel, with the pure pigments, then it's a very easy next step to apply the little details with the crayons or the pencils themselves. Also the little details like the inside of the eye and of course the beak itself are very hard to do with a big panpastel knife. So for the little detail and the eye and the beak, I'm simply using the pastel pencils. And for pastel pencils I have actually 60 different kinds of colors. So my choice is much bigger, and but still the underlayer is done very quickly with the panpastels. So I've saved myself a lot of time by using the panpastel as an underlayer for the whole bird. Now for the beak itself I put in an underlayer of bright yellow, and then I start blending it with the white pastel pencil. And even though the beak, just as the head, is all yellow, there are a lot of different kinds of colors of yellow. There are orangey-like colors, there are near to white yellows. So in order to create a very realistic beak, I will have to start to blend colors together. Now this is the tip of the beak, of course, and as an example I simply just put in a complete layer of yellow. Just put in your pigments and just fill in the whole tip of the beak. Like this. A nice thick underlayer, and then all I have to do is to put in some highlights and some shadows. You can see it here. I can easily blend the pigments into together. Then I pick up a little bit of orange and I blend that with the lighter yellow, which is underneath. And as a result, you get a shiny beak, very, very shiny. And that eye is really realistic. It's a complete different structure than the structure of the feathers, of course. And by blending it very softly, very gently, you can actually get a lovely shine upon that beak with very little effort. Here underneath there's a lot of shadow, so I simply push in a little bit of the black pigments. Just very softly. I'm always very careful with the black. But once you have a thick underlayer of different kinds of color, it's very easy to apply the black for the darkest area. Also for in between the little tiny feathers, just next to the beak and just above the eyes, for instance. You can also use the pastel pencils for the sharp edges next to the head and the background, for instance, where the contrast is the highest. And here underneath the lower beak, you can also apply a little bit of the black pastel pencil. And there's another detail that I want to point out to you, and that's the right side of the shadowy part. That appears to be a little bit of bright bluish, and that's because the light is bending around the head. So underneath the beak it's really dark purple-ish, while on the rest of the feathers there is a soft blue going on. Then I pick up the the white pastel pencil again, and then I can point out some of the feathers that are laying highest, and you can point out little detail, for instance here, that funny feather that is laying on the shoulder, on the wing itself, on the tip of the wing. I can just point that out and then put a little bit of shadow next to that, so that that feather really pops out. And you get a nice edge of the feathers that are in between the white and the brown area. I also apply a little bit of darker brown, and for the edges of the little feathers on the wing itself, I apply a little bit of light ochre. So there are markings on those feathers, and I want to make them pop out. So that's what I'm doing. And then I apply a little bit of extra black for the background, because I really want that head to pop out. I want the bird to pop off the paper, if you want. So by applying a little bit of extra black pigments, the bird actually does. I'll maybe put a little bit of the feathers here over the wing. And you can see how easily that is done with the white pastel pencil. And well, the pastel matte paper, which feels like a grinding paper, is just ideal for these kinds of drawing. So I hope you enjoyed watching this tutorial, and that you enjoyed the tips that I've brought you. Maybe you want to see the whole process in real time. Then you can find me, of course, on my Patreon page, where you can support me to make more of these kinds of tutorials. So thank you for watching, and I will see you again in a next tutorial.